Over the past several weeks, we have been building a sequence of ideas together, meshing them. We've talked about leadership. We started talking about agency, layers of agency, starting with your agency for yourself as a human thinking person. We talked about authority. Not authority as a title or a status or a position. Authority as how you show up in the world and as an individual, and the authority that is the reality that when you run a solo business, no one is setting your priorities for you. No one tells you which opportunities to accept. No one tells you which projects to reject. No one tells you what to focus on this week instead of next week. No one tells you which client problem belongs inside your business and which one does not. That means the operator, you, are carrying all of the decision authority. And that sounds empowering when people say it casually. Be your own boss, build your own thing, set your own schedule, do it your way. But in practice, for many solopreneurs and freelancers, it ends up feeling less like freedom and more like pressure, because every single decision matters. And every decision competes with every other decision. And then we moved into structure before scale. We introduced the 9-point marketing plan as a way to think about the life cycle of a customer relationship. How a stranger becomes aware of your business, how that person then becomes a lead, how the lead becomes a client, and how the client turns into a referral and review partner. And in that session, we introduced a fictional character named Alex. Alex is useful because Alex helps us look at the structure of the business without getting trapped by personal defensiveness. We can look at Alex and say, is that customer journey clear? Where is it disjointed? Where do the offers point in different directions? What are the expectations that are created that might not actually fit in the structure of Alex's business? And when we walked Alex through the 9-point marketing plan framework, something important appeared. Alex's customer journey was not simply under-optimized. It was disjointed. Different services point to different kinds of customers. Different offers imply different kinds of relationships. Thank you, Diane. Different promises pointed to different delivery expectations, and the business ended up feeling unstable, not because Alex lacked skill. It feels unstable because the structure underneath the offers was never clear. Today, what we're going to do is dig deeper into that issue. We're not going to talk about marketing tactics. We're not going to talk about advertising strategy. We're not going to talk about the best offer or the best niche or which product should I sell. We're talking about something that's earlier in your business development than tactics. We're talking about the possibility that many of the hardworking freelancers who are struggling not because they're doing too little. And I know there's about 5 negatives in that sentence. Many of the people who are struggling because the business itself is trying to operate according to multiple incompatible business models at the same time. And if that is true, then the problem is not simply effort. It is structure. Many freelancers, solopreneurs, independent contractors, they work hard enough that the people around them assume they should be doing better than they actually are. They're busy, they're learning, they're buying software, they're taking courses, they're experimenting with pricing models, they're trying new services, they're staying up late, finishing projects, they're answering client messages at all kinds of hours of the day. They're working weekends to fix things. They're doing all of the things that hustle culture tells them successful people do. And yet, despite all of that effort, the business often feels unstable. Income is inconsistent. Where the next project is coming from is unclear. Income comes in bursts, then it slows down, then it spikes again. The operator may feel useful, capable, and productive, but their lifestyle is not actually secure. Most of the people who live inside this cycle assume that the explanation must be one of a handful of common problems. Maybe I need my lead. Maybe I need more leads. Maybe my offer isn't clear enough. Maybe I just haven't found the right niche yet. Maybe I need better writing, better copy. Diane might be able to help me with that. Maybe I need stronger sales skills. Maybe I just need more discipline. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Let me get a mirror. Could be that. Maybe I just need to stop procrastinating. Maybe I just need to go all in on whatever the next thing is. And I should be really clear right here. These all are problems that can be real. All of those can be the real crux of the issue. And if one of those is the constraint that is affecting the business, there are ways to address those issues. What I'm not arguing is that tactics never matter. I am not arguing that copy doesn't matter. I'm not arguing that discipline doesn't matter. All of those things do matter when they matter. What I am arguing is that also many of the operators who are trying to solve a tactical problem, are trying to make many of the operators who are using tactical adjustments are trying to solve a structural problem. The core problem isn't solved by tactical adjustments. The tactical problem could be solved by a tactical adjustment, but this core structural problem needs a different solution. When you apply tactical adjustments to a structural problem, the fixes never take hold. They produce motion. They may even produce bursts of momentum. They can produce those income spikes, but they don't produce stability. The pattern that keeps showing up is this. Many of the hardworking solopreneurs, independent contractors, freelancers, industry experts, consultants are unknowingly trying to operate multiple businesses at the same time. And when they do that, they receive advice from people, which is all technically correct, for the different parts of the business. That advice is correct for this part of the business, but it doesn't apply to that part of the business. And this advice, which applies to that part of the business, doesn't apply to this part of the business. And because it doesn't apply, it becomes a conflict with the way the business is actually operating. One person is giving agency advice. Another is giving SaaS advice. Another one is giving freelancer advice. Somebody's providing consultant or support effort advice. And someone else is providing advice for teachers or coaches or for affiliates. And each one is describing advice that works inside their business model. But if the operator has not declared which business model governs their work, all of that advice starts colliding. And then the person says, I don't know why anything seems to fit. Nothing seems to fit. And that's what we're going to try to clarify today in the next 30 minutes or so. Imagine someone saying a simple question. How do you get somewhere? How do I get from point A to point B? Bicycle, car, truck, plane, train, ship. At first, it's a simple, reasonable question. All of those will get you somewhere. Until you think about it depends. It depends on how you operate the vehicle, depends on the kind of vehicle. And which vehicle depends on where you're trying to go. So what's the best way to operate a bicycle? Well, that's pedaling. But pedaling would be terrible advice for how to operate an airplane. You might steer a car. You might have an accelerator pedal in a car. And that might be the same controls as in a truck. And you might have the same functions in a ship, but how you make the ship function, how you manipulate the controls to achieve the same function is different. So when someone is giving you advice on how to drive your vehicle, it's the correct advice. If you're riding a bicycle or a motorcycle, or if you're driving a boat or a ship, but if you're driving a semi-truck, neither one of those advices is correct. The same idea applies to business models. Different business models operate under different economics, different constraints, different expectations, different rules. And there's another difference that matters even more. It isn't just the vehicle that changes, it's also who decides the destination and how the journey is governed. When you're riding a bicycle, you decide almost everything. Where you're going, when you leave, how fast you go, which path, which trail you're going to take. Most of that is the same for your personal car, too. You're the driver, you choose the destination, you choose the route, you choose when to stop for gas, whether you take the highway, which route you take to avoid traffic. No one's dictating which route you take. Commercial traffic is different. A truck driver might be operating the truck, but the route is determined by dispatch. And a pilot in command might operate the aircraft, but they don't just randomly pick a route in the spur of the moment. The flight path is coordinated with air traffic control and complies with procedures, regulations, and systems that allow multiple aircraft to share the space. The ship, similarly, there are rules of the road, there's shipping lanes, there's international maritime conventions that prevent collisions and manage traffic. The ship captain might manipulate the boat's course, but other people's activities are influenced. The operator is still important. The driver matters. The pilot matters. The captain matters. But that operator is not making independent decisions. There is structure governing the decisions. And here's why this matters for solo businesses. As a solo business, independent contractor, freelancer, you're operating your business like a bicycle or a motorcycle or maybe a private car. Every single decision is made individually. Every route is free to be chosen in the moment. Every opportunity is evaluated on its own merits, one at a time. But if they're trying to build a business that behaves more like an airline or a shipping company or a logistics system, at that point, they're looking for scale, predictability, leverage, operational simplicity, recurring revenue. They need some constraints, some guardrails, some structure. Because if they are only making every single decision one opportunity at a time with no governing structure to determine which decisions actually belong, they end up picking courses that might have been an interesting detour, but did not get them efficiently to the goal. That mismatch creates pressure. And in our space, that pressure is often misdiagnosed as a marketing problem. So we are, yeah, okay, good. So we are, hey, thanks, Judy. Good to see you. If you have a question, just drop it in the chat. I'll respond to the questions in chat. So we're going to go back to Alex, who we met in that earlier session about the marketing plan. When we met Alex was a web designer. That was the original business. Design websites for small businesses. The work is clear. Client needs a website. Alex designed the website. Alex delivered the website. It maybe wasn't a perfect business, but it was an understandable business. It was clear. It was a straightforward service. But then the client started asking for help. And this is when the pattern starts to become unfamiliar for many people. First, it was graphics and copy. Can you help with the graphics? Can you write some of the page text? You know what? It's a little disjointed. Can you clean up some of the messages while you're in editing that page? And it makes sense. It's adjacent to the work. It helps the client. It makes the project more valuable. Then someone asks about SEO. If you're going to build the website anyway, can you help us rank better on Google? Again, it feels reasonable. The copy on the website is what drives the Google ranking. Then another client asks about, but SEO includes offsite factors as well. And so it creates this expanding scope of services. Then somebody asks about email campaigns. If people fill out the form on the website, Can you help us create the email campaign that follows up with them? Again, it's an adjacent task to designing and building the website. Someone asks for automation. Can we automate the reminders? Can we build some workflows? Can you connect the CRM? And someone asks, if you're already using these tools, could you help us set up the tool systems too? So Alex discovers the software tools that can be resold as subscription, and now the business includes websites, graphic design, copywriting, SEO on-site, SEO off-site, social media, email campaign, automation, software subscription, CRM build-outs. And at the moment, in this time, none of those decisions were irrational. Did I forget to flip a slide? I think I forgot to flip a slide. Let's go to this. This is what he was doing. And this all makes sense. He's building a website. He's doing social media. He's being valuable to the client. That's the important point. Each one of these services makes sense. Each one of them helps the client accomplish something that's important to the client. They generated income. The clients paid for this work. It wasn't like he's doing work for free. Each of these opportunities to serve in the moment feels like a chance to grow the business. And that's why this problem, when it arises, is so easy to miss. Because the drift usually happens through what, in fact, are reasonable decisions. Over time, however, something subtle starts happening. Alex's business stops being one clear service and slowly becomes a collection of services. And because Alex never declared, this is the business model that governs my business, each one of these new services felt reasonable. Alex didn't intentionally design a complicated business. Alex simply never declared which business model governs his work. So the business keeps expanding. Every new opportunity adds another layer of decisions. When a new opportunity comes in, now when a new person comes in and says, can I have this? The decision has to be, do I provide that to them as well? Or do I go back to only some subset? And here's the sentence that matters. Because when every decision flows through one person without a governing structure, pressure starts to appear in what are probably familiar ways. We describe it as decision fatigue, analysis paralysis, overwhelm, pivot. It shows up as unfinished systems. It shows up like offers that never get fully settled. Marketing messages that seem close but not quite right. Quotes and estimates that have confusing verbiage embedded in them. Underneath these experiences is often the same structural issue. Too many possible directions with no declared hierarchy between them. No governing model determining which decisions matter most. Before I show you the framework, take a moment and think about your own business. Not the business that you say you want to build in 5 years. Not the polished version that looks nice, that has great copy on a website, on social media, or on a YouTube channel that you present to the world. The real one, the one that exists behind the polish right now. What do you actually sell? What do clients actually ask you for? What do you actually get paid to do? What tools do you manage? What promises do clients think you're making? And more importantly, did you design that structure intentionally, or did it just evolve one request at a time? Many operators are going to discover something important right here. The business that you are running today is not necessarily the business you originally intended to build. I'll make it personal. The business I'm running today is not the business I thought I was going to build, and it's not the business that I now intend to build. That realization should matter, because when we realize that, we also realize that the next step is not try harder to do what we're already doing. The next step is to look at the structure clearly and cleanly. Because what we're going to do is map Alex's activity. Yes, Alex builds websites. Alex provides graphics and copy for the websites. Alex helps with the SEO on the website. Builds the email campaigns that drive traffic to and from to the website and follow up after the website. Alex builds automation workflows, sells software subscription. Alex even does white label work for other agencies. And I bet this feels familiar. Not this exact list of services, but the pattern. Your calendar fills up. The to-do list gets longer and longer and longer. The software stack to support the to-do list continues to grow. Client expectations grow. You are becoming more capable, more competent, more skilled. But the business is not necessarily becoming more coherent. And the person starts describing themselves. I start describing myself in various vague ways. I do digital marketing. I build growth systems, automation and strategy, full service marketing agency. Eventually, that operator becomes the generic marketing guy, the person who can help with a little bit of everything. And that can seem very helpful. It seems flexible, responsive, adaptable. But structurally, it creates a problem. Because each new category of service adds another category of decisions, another set of tools, another set of working processes, another pricing question, another set of expectations from the clients, an operational burden. And for the solo operator, all of that pressure lands in one brain. Here's the reality. A 20-person marketing agency can in fact be a full service marketing agency because the work is distributed. One team handles client strategy. Another team runs ads. The website team is not the email team. The team that works analytics to assess whether all that is working is a different team entirely. And the customer service rep, client success manager, whatever it's called, is a separate person who coordinates with those teams instead of doing any of the work themselves. As a solo operator, you don't have that structure. I don't have that structure. So when a solopreneur tries to offer a little bit of everything, every responsibility lands on the one decision maker in the organization of one. And that's where the governance problem begins. Some of what Alex is doing looks like service agency work. Some of it is systems implementation, support services. Some of it is just a subscription to the software, which would be affiliate commission sales. And some of it looks like contract support work for other agencies. So the real issue isn't simply that Alex offers a lot. It's that when we go back to the 9-point marketing plan, Alex has on this chart, Alex has at least 4 different business model or 0.4 systems, lead capture systems. And he has 4 different 0.5 lead nurture systems. And he has 4 different 0.6 sales close, lead close systems, sales processes. The issue isn't that Alex offers a lot of options. It's that Alex is trying to operate across multiple business models simultaneously, each with a separate set of messaging and offers and sales close process. And when that happens, the advice Alex is receiving from the industry about how to do each of those things becomes confusing. Advice for an agency conflicts with advice for a SaaS business, a SaaS provider. Advice for a subcontractor business conflicts with advice for a software product company. Advice for a consultant conflicts with advice for someone doing agency fulfillment services, agency services fulfillment. The real danger isn't what tactic should Alex try next. The question becomes, what kind of business is Alex actually running? Because the tactic should be driven by the business Alex wants to run, not the other way around. Until the answer to what business does Alex actually want to run becomes clear, every opportunity does in fact look reasonable. Every new service will feel logical to add to the portfolio. This is why we have a framework. Inside the high-level ecosystem, there are several distinct ways operators generate revenue. I organize them in 9 business models. This framework is not a ranking system. It's not a hierarchy. It's not 1 through 9. It is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, 8, 8, and 9. I am not telling you the system, the framework is not telling you which model is best. There are businesses who are very successful in all 9 of these business models. Very profitable, legacy income generating businesses in every single one of these 9 business models, which is how I was able to detect the 9 business models in the first place. The framework exists to guide recognition, to make the underlying revenue structures visible. Each of these models has different economics, different delivery expectations, different pricing logics, different client relationships, and different operational burdens. When you recognize the business model you're operating, your decision-making becomes easier. Without that clarity, each decision competes on an equal ground with every other decision. And when otherwise competent, highly skilled operators unintentionally mix these models, instability will appear in the business. It'll appear downstream of the sale. This downstream effect shows up in 4 different conflict patterns. The builder agency collision occurs when someone intends to sell systems. I build automations, but they end up delivering custom agency work. The common version sounds something like this. I build repeatable systems for my clients. I build a productized service. I sell it as a snapshot. There's a core setup. The setup fee is this, and it's implemented repeatedly. It's a productized service. The subscription is significantly smaller than the initial setup fee. It's a business that's built around recurring revenue, not constant custom projects. It is software with a service thinking, system thinking, repeatability. The problem occurs when clients start asking for changes. Hey, can you customize this workflow for us? We need a slightly different pipeline. We use a different booking flow. Our business model is unique. Will you integrate this third-party tool as well? Can you make it work differently for our team who has X characteristic? And because the operator wants to be helpful, and because they're willing to pay the setup fee to make it work, the operator says yes. The client was willing to pay. And at that point, the system is no longer behaving like SWAS. It's behaving like custom agency work. Every client becomes a unique build. Every client requires its own logic set. Every client has unique expectations. This creates overwork and generates pricing confusion because it's priced as a productized service, but is being delivered as custom ongoing upgrades. The recognition question is this: are you selling a system, or are you selling your time building systems? They're 2 different businesses. Here's another one, the freelancer product illusion. This pattern happens when somebody believes they're building a product business, but the business actually depends on their personal labor. The operator may say something like, I'm building a SWAS, or I'm building a SaaS. I have recurring revenue. I sell subscriptions. On paper, maybe that's true. The clients pay regularly every month. There is a platform, there are logins, there are workflows, there's automation. But behind the scenes, the operator is the engine driving the work. They're fixing broken connections. They're answering the support tickets. They're making adjustments to the workflows and the pipelines and customizing triggers and adding workflow actions. They're patching the logic every time the client has a change in their operational process. So the product is only working because the freelancer is constantly monitoring it. If that operator disappeared for 30 days, the product would not just continue serving the customers, it would stall, break, require intervention. That's not a product. That's a freelancer who happens to have recurring invoices, which can be a valid business model if business model 8 is the business model you intended to pursue. It's not the same thing as a productized service. And until you have recognized the difference, you will use the wrong expectations to evaluate the business that you're running. You'll use the wrong KPIs, the wrong analysis to self-evaluate. To recognize this pattern, ask yourself, if I stepped away for a month, would the product keep running? If the answer is no, that matters. Here's a good one. The affiliate agency confusion. This pattern occurs when someone recommends tools, but gradually they become responsible for outcomes. It starts small. I know a CRM that would help your business. I know a reputation platform that you should look at. I know a great automation tool. You should get this AI agent to answer your phones 24/7. And the operator earns referral commissions. That part is clean. They introduce someone to a tool. Here's the tool. It's a great tool. It's whatever the price it is. But then the client says, hey, this is awesome. Can you help us set it up? And that certainly seems reasonable. I would do that to make sure that they were onboarded and off and running with the new tool. It seems reasonable. But then they say, well, can you help us manage it? And that feels adjacent. Yeah, I want them to stick. I want them to keep using it. So yeah, I'll help you manage it. Hey, can you run the follow-up? Can you customize it so that it works better? Can you train our team to use it more efficiently? Can you make sure it works in our situation? How do we generate results from it? And at this point, the operator is no longer recommending a tool. They're carrying business model 5 and 6 marketing agency responsibility, and they're getting paid an affiliate commission. So the operator is working like an agency while being compensated like a referral partner. And this is going to create strain because responsibility is growing faster than compensation, scope is growing faster than structure. And so here's how you ask yourself, are you being paid for referrals or are you being paid for responsibility? They are not the same business. Here's a fun one. The guru operator loop. This happens when operators like you follow tactics from educators whose business model is teaching. A coach, educator, course creator, consultant might say, use this outreach script, launch this offer, build this funnel. Here's my lead magnet. Post this kind of content, sell this kind of package. And the advice may actually work for someone whose business model is built on authority, audience, and teaching economics. Maybe a business model 1 affiliate. But a freelancer who's acquiring clients to provide technical service lives in a different reality. A service provider in an agency monetizes fulfillment. The teacher monetizes knowledge and trust at scale. The educator needs an audience, a reputation, a platform, and warm inbound attention. And the freelancer probably doesn't have any of that. So when the operator, freelancer, solopreneur copies the tactics from the teacher without recognizing the difference in their business model, they experience confusion. The script didn't work. The funnel didn't convert. The offer felt weird. The content didn't land. The issue isn't that the tactic is invalid. It's the tactic belongs to an entirely different economic vehicle. The recognition question, are you, as an operator, copying the tactics of a teacher, or are you copying the tactics of someone who's operating a different business than you, or are you copying the tactics of someone who is operating the same kind of business as you? Three different things, and only one of them is correct for you. Now, the important thing to notice is this. None of these patterns means that someone is unintelligent. None of these patterns means that someone is incompetent. None of these patterns means that someone lacks skill. Certainly, none of these patterns proves laziness. Quite the opposite. They often demonstrate high levels of effort. What they mean is when the owner-operator is following advice and pursuing opportunities from multiple businesses at the same time, conflict patterns arise. The business starts getting pulled in different directions, which leads to the most important question for today. At some point, every solo operator runs into this difficult question. If you had to remove every offer from your business, take all those add-on adjacent kinds of options away from your business, except one. You could only put one offer on your proposal. You could only put one offer on your estimate. You could put only one offer on your landing pages, and they all had to be the same. Of the things that you're doing, which one would keep your business alive for the next 12 months? I'm sure that question is uncomfortable. And it is uncomfortable because the answer to that question is often not the service that the operator imagined would define their business. Sometimes the answer is the things clients keep paying for is the thing that would sustain. Sometimes the answer is the thing that still works when everything else gets quiet. If all of your other feelers stop working, and this is the one that continues to generate opportunities. Sometimes that answer is going to reveal something surprising. Sometimes it's going to reveal that you thought you were building a product business, but your income is actually coming from agency services or maybe support services. The operator thought they were building an agency, but their money comes from the support services. This recognition moment matters because until the governing model of your business becomes clear, every opportunity will continue to look reasonable. And every new service that comes along will feel like something that should be added to your portfolio. Most programs in the digital marketing world teach tactics. There are a lot of people who can teach you how to run ads, how to build funnels, how to write better outreach, how to improve conversion, how to automate more efficiently. And all of those things can be useful. You will need each of those things. But all the people who are running those training programs assume something that's very important. They assume that the structure of your business is already clear. Here in GHL Business Launch, we focus on something earlier in the cycle. We help solo operators understand what kind of business they're actually building. Because until that becomes clear, all the other people who are teaching tactics will compete with each other. The messaging will compete with itself. Your offers will drift. Your pricing will become unstable. Your decision-making becomes exhausting. The goal here is simple. We're trying to help operators move from instability and chaos to alignment. Recognize the instability. Declare the model that's governing your business and align your decision and systems within that structure. That is why this program exists. Not to help people do more, not even to do more efficiently, but to help stop doing things that don't belong inside the business you're actually trying to build. In the coming weeks, we are going to continue building on this idea. Later this month, we're going to be joined again by Dave Robbs and David Robbs for 2 conversations. The first is a very deceptively simple question. What business are you trying to build? Because once you've recognized what business model you want to operate, the next becomes, what kind of business do you want this to become over time? What kind of structure are you designing toward? What kind of responsibility are you willing to carry 12, 24, 60 months in the future? And after that, we're going to talk about pricing in a global economy, because different models face different pricing pressure. An agency does not price the same way that a support contractor does. A SaaS business does not face the same pressure as a freelancer. A coach or teacher doesn't operate under the same economics as a fulfillment provider. Point is, these sessions build on each other. Today is about recognition, understanding where you are now. Later sessions are going to move us toward deliberately designing the right business for you. Because clarity does not eliminate work. What it does eliminate is unnecessary decisions. It reduces the friction that shouldn't have been there in the first place. It helps you stop adding service just because they seem adjacent. It helps you stop evaluating your business by standards of someone in a completely different business model and a different time and place in their business cycle. It helps you stop assuming that your instability is personal failure and start recognizing that it may in fact be something structural that you can just fix. And once that clarity appears, progress becomes easier to sustain. Thank you for thinking with me today.